Which is fair.
Which is fair. And now we're going to somebody that is right at the top of that list for most people, Terence Crawford. He's back. He's back. He's fighting Madrimov.
Israil Madrimov, yeah.
He's fighting Madrimov. That'll be a good fight. Although obviously,
I'm gonna say this now, and don't take my opinion because I know nothing about boxing. I know nothing about boxing because obviously.
Well, you did call Ryan Garcia a misfits boxer, but
I know nothing about boxing. But let's put it this way: I think this is gonna be Crawford's toughest fight of his career. I promise you, that's what I believe.
I think it's gonna be a very competitive fight
because he's moving up against a known puncher. Who has boxing skills. Like, Madrimov is out of that Bivol MJ camp. He knows he can box and he can punch. So for me, it's going to be... Yeah. And he's moving up.
The difficulty, he's always found himself in a difficult place. People were suggesting so many fights for him, and it's so difficult for Terence Crawford because every fight that's out there for him, apart from maybe Boots, is a move up. Everybody's asking him. Yeah. So everybody was asking him to move up. So it was always going to be a step up. And then are we going to see that power translate? And again, similar to Devin Haney, he's not a complete defensive fighter, but he's a really, really solid defensive fighter. But he's going up against people that are now becoming bigger and more powerful people. So that was always going to be the difficulty.
I'm just glad to see Terence Crawford back. I'm not even going to lie.
I think him versus Madrimov was a good fight. Him versus Canelo, I thought was silly. Too big of a difference, in my opinion, in terms of size. People talking about Conor Benn. Don't know what Conor Benn has done to deserve
Conor Benn?
People are banning about everything.
Because of his name value, isn't it? So I said money rules the sport. Name value and all of that is arguably more important than belts. And you're seeing with everything going on with Saudi, the belts don't really mean anything. They're creating their own belts, if anything. Like, of course, for the lineage and the history of the sport, everyone grows up wanting to be WBC champion. They want to lift the belts that their heroes have lifted. But in terms of the way these fights are actually getting made, nowadays, the belts really don't hold that much of a weight. And you can see, Ryan Garcia did not get the belts off Devin Haney. Of course. But who's still winning from that? Who's still going to be able to leverage themselves into getting better fights in the future?
I still wouldn't say the belts don't mean anything.
That's
a bit of a strong use of vocabulary, but especially with the way the sport is moving now with the Saudis and everything, they're meaning
people
less
are
and less
prioritizing other things other than just belts.
Of course.
I mean,
people have always done that though. That's also been the history of boxing. People have always done that.
I mean, what Riddick bought for his belt in the bin.
Even before that, in the 30s and 40s, lots of white fighters wouldn't fight black fighters. So you'd have like a 2-tier system of professional boxing where a lot of those world champions weren't really world champions. They're only fighting a small minority of fighters.
Also, there's way too many belts. It should be one belt per division.
I hear people say that, but then my counter argument to that is there was an era where I 100% agreed with you, but now we've just in the last when was 2018?
6 years.
6 years. In the last 6 years, we've seen 9 undisputed champions. So in multiple weight classes, it's about making the fights. Yeah. It doesn't matter for me because it doesn't matter if there's multiple belts. If you make the fights, like we've seen at 135 pounds at lightweight and welterweight, we've seen 9 undisputed champions.
We're about to see it at 175.
175 and heavyweight.
Yeah, but your argument is because they're making undisputed fights a lot more than they were, then there still should be multiple belts.
No, I'm saying
if there was only one title belt, there would, instead of 9 or whatever undisputed champions, there would have been what? 20 undisputed champions.
Maybe we've got too many belts, but I don't
Fury
agree.
Would have fought by this point if we had one belt.
I don't agree with one belt because if you do have people have been arguing for one. This is about Terence Crawford, so we'll get back to that in a second. But people have been arguing for one belt when some divisions have been particularly weak. When there's a weak division, one belt makes sense. But when the division is stacked with talent, global talent, and there's all different political issues and things like that, lots of people would miss out on the chance.
I don't think one belt would have worked in light heavyweight. Because Bivol and Beterbiev couldn't fight for 5 years.
Yeah.
So then what would you do there? Yeah. They couldn't fight. They were Russian. They couldn't fight. They couldn't fight for 5 years.
There'd be a lot of people that would miss out on title shots. But listen, Terence Crawford, Madrimov, where does it go? Who wins?
Terence Crawford, man. He's too good. And also, I think, going off the Errol Spence fight, I want to ask you guys about it. So I think it can go one or two ways. I know you hear the quote of a champion becomes like 30% better of a fighter overnight once they get the belt. Obviously, he's been champion for a long time before that. But it's still the biggest fight of his career. 100%. Like it was the one everyone wanted to see for years and years. And obviously the confidence you'd get from beating Errol Spence, but not just beating him, the way that he dismantled him. I'm expecting him to have so much more confidence, be going into this without any fear, really. Not that he would have had any fear at all. And I feel like he's going to carry that momentum forward. But it could go both ways, which is why I'm intrigued to see how you guys feel.
I think Terence Crawford is the most professional fighter possibly in the world. Top three professional fighters, in the world. He will not look past an opponent. He will not, anything like.
I'm not going to say he's looked past him.
He's
going to raise his game.
The concern I have is going to be not just does his power translate, but does his wrestling ability translate to? We all thought that Spence was the bigger guy, and then when we saw them actually in the ring, we realised that they're
size didn't matter.
But also, he wasn't as much bigger as we thought. It was pretty close. But if he does start to fight genuinely bigger body guys, how much does that wrestling translate?
Here's the thing, which I agree with Nick so much, is because when I heard the press conference, I expected what you just said, but he mentioned things that I didn't even expect. He's like, bro, Madrimov has got amazing feet. He's the best guy at this weight class. And these are the things that I would say as a neutral. This guy's a student of the game, bro. He knows Madrimov. And the reason why I say it's going to be the toughest fight of his career is because the toughest fight of his career thus far was when he fought Kavalauskas, and he arguably got dropped in that fight. We don't know, but he got dropped in that fight. And again, a very strong Eastern European style always causes Americans trouble. Always, because they're fundamentally sound, but they're not stationary. You know what I'm saying? They like Eastern European, not like British European. Eastern European style can always cause them trouble. And
that's why they need to change over to British coaches, don't they? So they can get better at dealing with these kind of things.
I mean, Eastern Europeans cook British fighters as well. I mean, I think pretty sure AJ lost to an Eastern European called Usyk. So, I mean, twice. Yeah,
he's also beaten a few Eastern Europeans.
Povetkin and Klitschko. Fair enough. But no, I do think it's going to be... And Pulev, you're right. I do think this is going to be Terence Crawford's toughest fight.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to back Bud Crawford. But I do think moving up a weight class... What happens when you hit someone and they're still there?
Like you said about Devin Haney, I think that Crawford has a much better... What makes Crawford a pound for pound more than someone like Devin Haney is Crawford has a plan A, and if that plan A doesn't work, we can see him think his way through fights. Facts. And he's got an elite coach who can also think his way through fights.
Bomac is an elite coach. In corner, he's one of the best coaches.
I know.
Bomac 10 fights.
Yeah, real talk. So he has all of the tools. It's just about putting those tools to work. Devin Haney has a plan A. If plan A isn't working, he moves to plan B. Plan B probably won't work, and then he'll lose. But really, with Terence Crawford, they will be able to, with their minds,
plan B based on your weaknesses.
100%. Between their minds, they will be able to think a way around this. I think he's maybe more versatile than Madrimov.
More versatile.
Than Madrimov, I mean, not than
No, he's way more versatile than Madrimov.
Yeah, so that's where I lean towards Terence Crawford. But the fight will be very, very entertaining.